after 1975, when we had a relatively small clash, we've actually had no fatalities on the border. And yet, what we saw last year was a complete departure. There was a very large Chinese military presence in a very operational mode, which was brought to the border without, frankly, a good reason. Once we countered that, it led to a very serious clash last June, in which a lot of lives were lost, and it has taken the relationship in a completely different direction. So yes, I can see it's the I mean, right now for me, certainly in India, I would say the challenge of how to manage my relationship with China ranks very, very high, and in part because there's been a very sharp departure from the norm. Look, I think all of us understood for some years now that the United States and its allies, that their presence would wind down in Afghanistan. It's not something which happened overnight. It began, in fact, people sometimes tend to forget, with President Obama. And it certainly had a roller coaster time, like so many other things under President Trump. But the fact was that for all the debate and deliberation on it, I think it would be a fair statement to assert that the end game was not something which anybody saw coming. I mean, no, it wasn't exactly what was the scenario which anybody was really prepared for. So, it's been now a little more than 2 weeks, and the initial focus has really been, on evacuation, getting people out, trying to see if, Afghans can travel out. But we have taken some important steps, and particularly I should emphasize that in the United Nations Security Council, this was a month when we were president, there has been a resolution passed, 2593, which demands that Afghanistan's territory should not be used for terrorism, which expects that Taliban would live up to its promises about inclusive government, promises about treatment of minorities or women, children, which actually wants that the travel permissions for Afghans who wish to leave the country is given. So these are early days in a way, but I think the challenges are there for all of us to see. To my mind, what is most important at this time is we should try to overcome the natural temptation of diplomacy to score a point about, over the others and try and get ahead of the game. I think this is a time when the international community should actually come together and, work in what is truly collective interest. We all know what the last 2 weeks were, and I don't think anybody can be in denial of the challenges that it has posed to everybody. But having said that, the United States, as I said, is the United States. I mean, it has deep strengths. It has a very unique I would say not just standing. I mean, there is something which everybody knows intuitively. It has an extraordinary capacity to reinvent itself, re-energize itself. And we've seen that in history. After all, remember, some variant of this debate would have also happened in the 1970s. So I think, to me, there is the immediate challenge of diplomacy and foreign policy. There are somewhat longer-term judgments which all of us make, and I certainly would make that keeping in mind, my understanding of the United States over many, many years.